is I Do Damage, and welcome back to the channel. In this Wolcen Lords of Mayhem video, I would like to talk about ailments and do an ailment guide and share everything I've learned about ailments. They're not as straightforward as I had originally thought, and there's a little bit here I want to share. First of all, I want to share the passive skill tree template that I believe every build should start with. Even if you think you're not going to do an ailment build, I highly encourage you to do an ailment build. And this is why. Just let me explain, okay? Ailments are very overpowered in Wolcen. If you think of other games where you have damage over time abilities, it seems like the damage over time, the damage ticks are a bit lower than direct hit damage. Not in Wolcen. The direct hit damage is essentially the same as each damage tick, and you can stack that up to 30 times. So essentially you're doing 30 times your direct hit damage every second, or however often ailments tick, and this is why I think every single build in Wolcen should be an ailment build. I think if you follow this template that I'm going to show you in a second to start with, and then you can branch out from there and maybe try some other abilities and builds and stuff, there's definitely potential there. But this is how I think you should start literally every single build on Wolcen. And I'm not saying that I think this is good design, I'm just saying this is the best way to start your character that I've found. And it's all ailments. So I'll just kind of scroll through and show you here. Even if you're not doing spell damage, you're still going to want to do this, guys. It is actually insane. The ailment damage here, and then that's just flat damage. I'm doing a bleeding edge, of course, because I think it's fun. I know everyone uses it, but hey, whatever. If I think it's fun, I'm going to play it. Come up here for your ailment chance. You want as much ailment chance, which also comes from wisdom as well. But this is all about the passive tree here. You're going to come down here, and then this node will allow you to get a buff. So whenever you kill an enemy that has an ailment stack on it, one ailment stack, you get 5% damage. So if you can stack up as many ailments as possible, and a cool trick we actually found out tonight on stream with this was if your buddy in your group in co-op is doing ailments as well, and you kill a mob that has their ailments, you actually get a buff from that, which is really cool. In my own solo build, I always have a constant 5 stacks of 5 different ailments. If you do the math, that's 125% damage. Just everything, I do 125% more damage all the time. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And then the other node you'll need is this one here. This gives you a chance to multiply the number of ailment stacks that you inflict. And then if you grab these two nodes, you have a 100% chance. So you're always multiplying the amount of ailment stacks by 2. It's just crazy. And it multiplies. It literally multiplies. Insane. Absolutely insane. These are required also for any build. Maximum ailment stacks you want to have. You can get up to a total of 30 ailment stacks. By default, you have 10, and then we'll pick up 20 on the tree here that I'll show you. And then another +2 ailment stacks inflicted, multiplied by the 2 from here. So now you're inflicting 4 stacks. But that's +2 on top of you. I think you have 1 as a base, so 3 times 2. I mean, you're already at 6 stacks per ailment. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how... Okay, it's just crazy, man. And then the next one is your damage over time. If you trigger an ailment with a crit, the damage tick is then also a crit. I mean, you can just see this. It's just... oh my gosh. And then these ones, I accidentally took both here. I guess I'll have to redo my tree again. But just depending on if you're doing an attack or spell, or maybe you're doing a hybrid and you want both of these. But anyway, I like them for the crit to activate the crit ailment. And then down here, usually your hits only apply 1 ailment type. You can now apply an additional ailment, so then that multiplies here. So literally just from this tree alone, you have 2 + 1 from your base, so 3, plus another one, you have 4 times 2. I mean, wow, you can already apply 8 ailment stacks in one hit. I mean, that's a third of almost all of your max stacks. It's wow. Just wow. I would say please nerf, but honestly, please buff other nodes and builds, please. Like, I don't expect all the builds to be exactly the same strength, but a little bit like closer, you know, because I mean, like your first 40 points or whatever is this, and then you can branch out from here. But and then the last part, we come down here into Time Weaver, and this is where you're going to pick up those last stacks that you can have at maximum. So there you go. And then this right here, this node, when I first read this, I was like, it kind of sucks, but it's actually really powerful. And this has prevented a lot of deaths. Basically, when you take a hit, instead of taking all the damage, you only take 40% of that hit, and then the rest of the damage is staggered. It says here it's dealt 1 second after the hit. I think it's staggered a bit more than that, because it's kind of what it seems like it staggers it out over a lot more time. But anyway, Dire Juncture is amazing. And then I pick up these last ones here for Ailment Chance. So that's the passive tree, and I honestly believe no matter what build, even if you're like, I'm not going to do an ailment build, you should. And this is the template you should follow for literally any character, any build, any build. Like I've seen like build guides like Bleeding Edge or Mage or whatever. Like this is a universal guide. This is for every build, guys. Like there's no other need for other build guides. This is the only build guide you need. So we've got the passive skill tree out of the way, and I've kind of ranted a little bit about my feelings on that, but now you know how to do that. I'll have the link down below for that template as well. The next thing I want to talk about is how ailments actually work in Wolcen, and this is not as straightforward as you would think. So in Wolcen, your abilities have different tags on them. And there's two main types. You have attack and spell, and they're different when it comes to ailments. So let's talk about spells first, because this is probably the most easiest to kind of wrap your head around. So we'll be talking about Bulwark of Dawn, and I'll show you a few other spells. But basically the way that spells work is spells have a base damage type. So if you look at Bulwark of Dawn, Sacred, which inflicts weakness, is the base damage type on this. If you look at Consuming Embers, that's the Fireball skill. The base damage is, you guessed it, fire. Or burn chance, as it is in Wolcen. So each spell has its own base damage, which you can usually modify with a rune in there. And another side note for ailments is freeze and stun do not count as ailment stacks. So I would basically not do those unless if you're trying to do like maybe a control build for a co-op setup or something. But for solo, I would not use those three because they don't give you stacks. So anyway, so I'll show you, I guess, one more skill here, just because we're already talking about it. So like Thunder Strike, I can turn to shadow damage if I wanted to. Each spell has 2 damage. There's 2 ailment types that you can get on it. The first one is decided by the base, and then that we just talked about, and then the second ailment is decided by your gear and the items you actually have equipped. So you can see that on all my spells, literally all my spells, there's burn chance on there. All of them have a burn chance. Burn chance. Burn chance. All of them. All of them have a burn chance. Burn chance. Like all my spells. And that is because I have a ring that gives fire damage added to spells. So if there's a specific ailment that maybe you can't get from your spells that you still want to get, you can pick up that affix of whatever element you want and have it added to spells. And then there's also ones added to attacks. I have Frost on here, but we'll talk about attacks next. And that's pretty much how it's decided is the items you have equipped. So any damage you have towards spells, and it takes the highest on your gear. So let's say like my other ring, I had frost damage to spells, but it was less than the fire damage there. The game would pick the fire damage to be the ailment that's applied to all of my spells. So that's how spells work, and that's how ailments are decided for those. Attacks are different. So attacks basically get 2 ailments tied to them, just like spells do. But the way that they're decided is based on your highest status ailments that you have, which mine happen to be Bleed and Toxin. So if you look at any of my attacks, we'll look at Bleeding Edge first. It's going to be Bleed and Poison. If you look at Tracker's Reach, Bleed and Poison. So Bleed and Poison. So that's how it's decided. So spells And you can tell what it is by the tags, skill tags on there. So this is a spell, this one's an attack. So basically the way it works is spells is the base damage, and then which you can change, you can alter with the modifiers, and then also your gear if you have damage on spells. And then for attacks, it's your top 2 ailments basically. And then also there's certain attacks that you can modify the base element, which will alter the ailments applied with that specific attack. So that's how ailments really work in Wolcen. And it might seem straightforward. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but it took me a while to actually figure this all out. And I've noticed a massive difference. And that's why I wanted to make the guide, to hopefully help someone out there that's trying to figure out how the hell ailments work in Wolcen. That's going to be it for the Wolcen Lords of Mayhem ailment guide. I hope that this helped you. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share with all your friends. I post videos on YouTube every Monday and Friday, and sometimes some bonus videos just for you. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.